Hello, this is Lisa Hazard with We're All Psychic, and it is Monday, August the something, the 17th. I have Misty here,
Hello.
and she has me here, and we are at Amethyst Sage again while they are closed doing an interview for your listening pleasure.
Choo choo choo.
So, Misty, how have you been?
Oh, not too bad. Kids have started back to school this week. Don't know for how long.
Yeah, really.
I have the whole house to myself, so that's nice.
Yeah,
It's been clean. So yeah, not too bad. How about
yeah.
you, Lisa?
I haven't been doing much. Seems like a lot of family stuff all week. Just, because we're all in the house, and my husband and I can't work right now because our jobs are close distance kind of access jobs, and
I don't know how y'all do it without killing each other.
yeah, we love it. We have fun though. We do.
No,
We snip and snip a little
I
bit,
would
but
kill my
it's not too
husband.
bad.
It wouldn't work out too well with us. But I'm glad it does for you. I'm glad.
Yeah, we have experience. We've had times where one of us was out of work or the other one was. I always worked from home until
Yeah.
working here at Amethyst Sage. So, there were times when we were together. We enjoy each other's company, so it's always been good when we get to
Well,
be
yeah,
alone.
yeah. I mean, I enjoy my husband's company too, but
Well, the 4 people in our small house is a little bit cluttered. I mean, it's a little bit one
yeah,
bathroom.
yeah, that's not fun at all.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't like that.
So you were saying you really enjoyed Omika's interview.
Oh my gosh, I love her.
I do too.
I don't even know her, and I listened to the interview, and I was like, I love this woman. She is so fascinating. I mean,
She is.
I bet you could probably talk to her for hours and hours and
And
not get
years
bored.
and years. Yeah, she has a
Oh,
million stories.
yes, and I was also quite fascinated. I think the coolest story I think that she said was about the one where she was fixing to get raped, and something grabbed that man and threw him in the closet. Was it the closet, and shut him in there or
I think
something?
yeah.
I was like, wow, talk about
Yeah, it was
somebody
awful,
to protect you.
Right.
And then I got to thinking, well, yeah, how often does that really happen? How many times, have we gone into something, and then, our protector, our spirit guides come and protect us.
Yeah, and that's very dramatic right there. I
Yeah.
had a therapist that I was really close with in my 20s. When I was older and moved back, we became friends. I haven't talked to her in a while, but she had told me that when I was seeing her when I was about 22 to 25 or 6 or something. And I told her I thought I might be psychic, and it was really hard for me to even say out loud. I don't think I put it that way. I said something along like, something's going on here. And she said, well, sometimes things happen. She said, one time my daughter and I were driving, and I was about to turn left on it was like a busy road in Huntsville. And she and her daughter, she said, they both just instantly had this vision of a car wreck, and they turned to each other and they're like, did you see that? And then right then, like, she didn't turn like she was going to, because they both had this vision of the car turning and getting in a wreck.
Yeah.
And then turning to each other and being like, you did too? And then this truck, like the one that they had envisioned hitting them, actually just went flying by. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of us have experienced something like that.
Yeah.
But I really do think that that's like our spirit guides telling us, you know what?
Yeah.
We're not to do that.
Yeah. Not time to do that. Don't do that. Gonna mess up some stuff.
Right. And I've heard so many different stories. I know one time my mother, she was living in Montgomery, and my dad was at work, and they were in these apartments, and she said that she got a knock on the door, and it was like, early in the day, and she said, okay, well, I don't know who this is, because they didn't know anybody there, but she said, okay. And she opened the door, and there's like this big guy standing there. And she said that he kind of looked behind her, and then he kind of looked, the other way, like he was looking at something.
Mm-hmm.
And Mom was like, can I help you? And he was like, well, I'm looking for this woman that lives, in such and such. And my mom was like, well, I don't know, who she is or whatever. And she said this guy had this look on his face, like he was scared of her or something, and my mom's
Yeah.
not, my mom's a little woman.
Yeah.
And anyway, he got that look on his face, and then he shut the door.
Huh.
Well, later on that day, the police knocked on her door, and come to find out, this guy was very violent. His girlfriend that did live downstairs, I guess he had beat her, and done some bad things, and he wasn't a good guy at all.
Right.
And so my mom always said the look on his face, it was almost like he was seeing some big guy or something behind me on both sides of me, because the way
It's
he
the way
was
his eyes
looking.
were moving or
And
something.
and mom was like, what are you looking at? Because there's nothing, beside me. But yet, it looked like he was looking at something totally different, like something protecting her.
Yeah.
And I really do think that that did happen, that something was protecting her.
I think so. Yeah.
And I've heard of stories like that too. Like, I heard of a woman, and she was walking down this alley, and she met up with these like two guys, and it was not a good situation, and she knew that she shouldn't have gone that way, especially by herself. And she said that, they just kind of stared at her and gave her this look, and they let her go by. And she was like, okay, thank God I got out of that situation. Well, I think after she had left, they found another woman down there, and they had taken her and raped her.
Oh my God.
And the police were called, and she told him, look, I had seen these guys, before. And she actually asked the guys, hey, why didn't you try to get me? And they looked at her like she was crazy, and they were like, because there was those two big ass guys beside you. We're not going to do anything, with these big two guys beside you walking. And she was like, there were no guys walking beside me.
Yeah.
And, those kind of stories. Oh,
Yeah.
I love them. I love them. I love them. They're so
I
cool.
also think it's interesting that a lot of people who are very angry or violent because of whatever tendencies they have that make them, a lot of people who are chronically violent usually have their own demons, but in a way, I've like throughout life, I've not really known too many people like that, but I've known people who've been in relationships with people like that, or have had,
yes,
a lot of situations like that. And it's almost like the people who are living on the edge of that just rage all the time. They kind of can see those things more so than other people.
Oh,
do.
really?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just
huh.
seems like they like, I don't know, like some kind of, like if you want to, put someone in a psychology category, like say a sociopath, maybe they might kind of exist in their own little fantasy world to some people because they don't relate or connect. But I think they manipulate energy, but not necessarily emotional energy.
Yeah.
Or they can manipulate other people's emotional energy, but not produce their own emotions, maybe. Or maybe their emotions are processed in different ways or something like that.
I like the way you put that.
Yeah.
I never would have thought of it that way.
And then I wonder why, in that situation you're describing, why the other people didn't have protectors,
Right.
And
you know what? You're right. I wonder too.
Yeah.
But then again, and I know bad things happen to people all the time. And, some people get lucky and some don't, but I think that we all have lessons that we have to learn, whether they're good or bad,
Right.
And, I don't know. Sometimes it's just the luck of the draw,
What do you think the point is of learning the lessons? What's your theory? What's your belief system based around for that?
I've thought about this one for a long time because I've always thought that I have lessons to learn, lots of lessons to learn, and I'm very hard-headed. So that doesn't help my situation much because I like to learn lessons over and over again, but I'll eventually get them. But, I think that if something bad happens to me and I get through it, I think that I can pass that energy to somebody else that's maybe going through it and help them.
Yes.
And they can pass it along,
So maybe in that situation, the other people involved had lessons to teach other people from that experience, and that person in particular who had the guides show up. They're like, no.
Right,
she has
right.
nothing to teach us to, or this may break her or something.
Right, right. You know, and I've always heard that saying, and I believe this is true. God doesn't give you what you can't handle.
Yeah.
And I really believe that.
It's amazing what some people can handle, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I have seen people that have gone through so much stuff, and I'm like, how are you still standing?
Yeah.
And, you know, and of course their answer is, well, I don't have a choice.
Yeah. I just kept doing it because I had to.
You know, and I mean, I went through a lot of stuff in my 20s, and it was horrible and it was bad, but you know, I didn't have a choice. I got through it, you know, but I learned from it.
Right.
You know, and I also, like, it seems like every time I start to stray away from myself, it's like something bad happens and I have to get back on track.
This is interesting. In Vedic astrology, they have something called Rahu and Ketu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing them correctly. Ooh, we have a muffler. Rahu is, I think, the northern node of the moon, or I think so. And Ketu is, these are the characters, their mythology, is the southern node of the moon, or maybe I can't remember exactly how it's described.
Yeah.
But Rahu's job is to like build you up and then drop you. Build you up and then drop you. And you're supposed to learn lessons that way.
Huh.
And this is, you know, Indian Vedic astrology. And Ketu is like, every time you start to go off your path, everything goes to crap.
I know.
And then you have to get back on it.
Yes.
You know, that's kind of like how the two in their astrology work.
Yeah.
Getting you to do what you're supposed to.
I know. And like, that's why I am so determined, especially these last few months, to, you know, get on my right track and, you know, do the work and do what I need to do. Because, I mean, I know I've got plenty to do. I'm ready just to get going and do it. You know, I just have this certain, you know, energy going through me saying, you know, do the work, stay on track. And so I'm desperately trying to do that. But I've noticed too, when I stay on track, a lot of my psychic abilities will be enlightened a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's weird.
You have it on your mind actively, or in the back of your mind.
I guess because I'm closer to myself in that part. Yeah. I don't know, but you know, I've noticed that like when I go off, like, you know, my dreams and visions aren't, you know, as good as when I'm on track.
Yeah. So tell me about your dreams. Like, what kind of like you have like dreams that come true, or
I've had all kind of dreams, and I think we all dream. I love dreaming, and sometimes I don't love dreaming when I have nightmares. I know when I was little, I would have really bad dreams of like this negative energy. I don't know if it was like a demon or a devil or whatever it was that was trying to get me. And it would scare me, and I would have it a lot. And I still have those dreams, and it's very scary. But I think now I have to kind of take it over a little bit, and I'm learning how to control it. But that was scary. But I would have dreams after my brother died. I had a dream the night before we buried him, and I remember when he died, you know, you're always saying things like, oh, you know, I just want to, you know, give you a hug or hold you or kiss you one more time. And I remember telling everybody, you know, I just want to hold him one more time. That's all I want. I just want to hold him one more time. So that night I went to sleep and I woke up, and it was like a dream-like state. It wasn't a dream though. And it wasn't the awake state. It was in between.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he appeared in front of me, and he had this big smile on his face, and he was surrounded by dogs, and he loved dogs. And it was like, in like this white fog kind of area. And in the back, he had like this big house. And he was showing me, this is where I am now. And it was like I was fixing to ask him, why did you, do what you did? He committed suicide. And before I could even start the thought process of that, it's like he blocked me from it.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, we're not going to talk about that. This is not important. It doesn't mean anything right now. And I was like, okay, I'm in the moment. And then after that, he took me and he put his arms around me, and I put my arms around him, and I got that last hug, and then it was over. And like I said, it wasn't. I know the difference between a dream, and I know a difference between visions.
Yeah.
But that started, and then it was like I would have dreams that my loved ones that were already passed on would come to me and say, hey, this person's fixing to die, get them ready, or what, not get them ready, but just let me know.
Yeah.
And my grandfather did it before my grandmother died. He came in my dream and he said, Grandma's coming. It was like he was waiting. We were sitting at the kitchen table, and in these visions, there's no talking. We all communicate through mind.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yeah, Grandma's fixing to join me, and I'm just kind of waiting. And it wasn't long after that dream she passed.
Yeah.
And then I guess it was probably a few months later, they both came to me in another one, and this time they were like big balls of energy, like light. And they were like flying around together, and they went to my aunt's house, and that told me that she was next, and so, and she was, I think, one of the last ones, and she was ready to go.
Yeah.
And I was able to actually talk to her and say, hey, you know what? Guess what? It's almost over.
You could tell her that.
I did. I told her, because I knew that it would make her more at peace, because she was so lonely and she was done with all this. And and I think it did give her a little bit of peace. And I've had other similar dreams like that. It just things that I need to know, and it'll happen, and I can't predict when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It just happens.
But you just kind of have this certainty after these experiences.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's definitely certainty. Yeah.
Something I notice about the times we've interviewed and talked on the phone and been around each other and stuff, it's like it seems like you have a real good connection to the psychic senses and stuff, but it seems to really come out in your sleep, in your dreams, or so in that in-between place, in between sleep and awake. So I've noticed like you feel like a frustration not being able to turn it on and off, or have it
Control
on
it
all the time, or be able to access it at any time.
Yeah.
So, that's part of why I want to do the podcast, is open up discussions about how to do that.
Yes.
So, like, for you, I mean, we can go back to the peyote discussion,
Yeah.
Lucid dreaming on peyote, but I would think maybe start noticing things throughout the day that may show up in your dreams that aren't necessarily the like vision or visitation type dreams. But since you dream so much, maybe like we're sitting here and there's this fuzzy bag. Maybe this fuzzy bag shows up later in a dream tonight or tomorrow. Like, make note of what does, and maybe in a dream journal or something, if you did see it or is referenced again in a dream that already happened that day, that something that happened that day is referenced in a dream that night or the next night, I would make a note of that. And I think that does that happen to you in dreams, where you'll let's say you're looking at these cast iron pots. Maybe tonight you'll have a dream and there's just some cast iron pots off to the side, and does it ever happen like that for you?
I don't. If it has, I haven't really paid that much attention to it. But I tell you what, though, this is kind of weird. Me and my mom have had dreams about this house, and we can both describe it to each other to a T.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it freaks us both out. I don't know, it's something creepy about the house, but to the detail, we could tell each other exactly.
Yeah, okay.
It's like we've both been in that dream in that house.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's
it really is. Strange.
Yeah, it was very strange.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like this helped me a lot when I used to have a lot of vivid dreams, so I would go back and examine them and try to interpret them. And if I could figure out, like, for example, let's say I dreamed about being in a bedroom, and in my dream it was my bedroom and I knew it, one of those kind of things in the dream.
Yeah.
You know it, but you don't in real life. But let's say in that bedroom there's a dresser. It's pretty just a dresser. But then when I would look back at the dream, like, well, no, that dresser was a little different. It had these little carvings that are a lot like my grandparents' dresser in Philadelphia when I was growing up. It kind of reminds me of that, and so I'll have to go back and think about what that means to me. So I guess what I'm getting at is in your everyday life, when you feel like you're not accessing those parts of yourself, I think you are all the time. There's some part of me that was 7 looking at that dresser that put it in a dream when I was, 27.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. And it, I think the senses, energy sensors or whatever they may be, they pick up something then that is, it doesn't matter what the shape of the dresser is, it's just something about that moment, how I felt and what needed to be expressed in my subconscious during the dream. Of course, we all have different ideas as to why we even have dreams.
Right.
But I've always felt like it's my subconscious mind's language with my conscious mind. It doesn't have words. It doesn't have that's what I said.
Like the communication. There's no words. It's all thought process.
Yeah. And I think that's also exactly what dreams are. Not all of them. Like, I think you have that in between stage where you're really accessing the spirit realm, and very clearly and very. Like, you're hearing word, exactly what they want you to hear, and you're getting to ask what you want to know.
But you know what? I just forgot about this. This happened last week. I was trying to do what you were talking about. Yeah. And I remember very vividly. Now, I'm just not remembering this now we're talking about it. But there was a woman, and she was in like a little bitty boat. And she was in the water, just kind of sitting. And there was something about her. She was very pale. And I just remember it flashed in my dream. And something in my head said, remember this.
Yeah.
And I forgot till now.
Oh, she was in a boat?
Yeah.
Oh, what she look like?
Would that be something like you're talking about? Like,
yes.
The boat would be something significant, or maybe she is, or.
Yes. Like, I would say if I were to do a dream interpretation of that, I'd ask where the boat was, what the water looked like, where there trees, was it ocean, what'd she look like? She have long hair, short hair, stuff like that. And who did she remind you of? And stuff like, what was your feeling when you saw her? And like, you can for me anyway, when I interpret mine, I can associate the feelings, especially that the imagery invokes from the dream, as to how it applies to what's going on in my life that I'm trying to rip myself through, like get through and try to find the other end and what's wrong, especially when things are stressful. I think a lot of people dream more when their lives are really stressful.
Right. Yeah. Of course they do. I mean, and we've all done this too. We watch something scary on TV, and then we have a dream about what we just watched. You know what I mean? Because it's on your mind, fresh. But and
what's interesting is that, like, for example, like you just said, you see something scary and you have nightmares. A lot of kids do that.
Yeah,
and it's what do you think nightmares are? What would you guess they are to be?
Gosh,
what's their point?
Probably our worst fears.
Yeah,
in the back of our minds, probably the worst things that we can possibly imagine.
What would our subconscious, like, why would it, I don't know if, I don't have the answer, right? But why would it want us to experience those things? Maybe it's to prepare us for something that could happen, but not that bad.
Right.
But it could be that bad. I don't know.
Right. Right.
Like, I don't know.
It's very strange.
Yeah. I think it's also acknowledging real phobias and fears that are deep in you or deep in me. And then if I go back and look at the dream and analyze what was scary about it, then I won't be as scared of, like, let's say it's a, giant spider, I'm not, and I'm terrified of it in the dream.
Yeah.
Maybe it actually, say, could be that, well, I don't really have a fear of spiders, but my son does. One of my sons does. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe it could be like I'm afraid for my son's fears that may manifest in his life and mess up his life.
Yeah.
So that would be one example of that. And I'd have to, and then I wouldn't. A lot of times, if you have recurring dreams where, like, especially scary ones,
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm wondering too if that's just like some negative energy, just trying to scare me,
yeah,
and maybe I have to grow a little bit in each of those dreams to be able to fight it off.
yeah, maybe. And
I
it
mean,
could,
get a little bit stronger.
it could be, maybe in those recurring dreams for you, it could be that you're kind of training yourself what to do in those
Yes.
situations in an energetic way.
Yes, I think
So you
so.
relive it over and over and over, so you
Yes.
know how to handle it. Now, do you
Yes.
ever change? Do they ever change the recurring dreams, like as you keep having them? Will you be able
Yeah.
to outthink the situation
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
progress? Oh, that's cool.
It's
Yeah.
gotten better.
Okay.
Like I said, the last ones, I didn't wake up so scared. And I actually think the last ones I did overcome it. That was a few months ago, and I did.
Oh, wow, that's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Well, we had another little interruption like we always do. That's the way life is.
Yeah, full of interruptions.
That's right.
I guess today my point is we all have dreams. Maybe we should pay more attention to them and see what kind of signs they do bring.
Yeah.
And use it in our everyday life.
Yeah, I think so.
And just see where it brings us.
Yeah, and I think you should think about why it happened during this interview that you happen to remember that little piece of dream that said, "Remember me."
I know. She really wanted to be heard.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Misty. I really enjoy doing this with you every week. And
I love it.
Look forward to next week. You want to come back?
I'm going to pick your brain apart.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening, everybody. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Okay, that was Misty yesterday, and I love doing interviews with Misty. I love talking to Misty. Misty is awesome, in my opinion. So thank you so much for listening, and any of you who would like to be a guest on We're All Psychic with me, interviewing and picking out your thoughts and innermost everythings, please feel free to drop me an email at lisa@weareallpsychic.com, and you can visit our website at weareallpsychic.com. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Bye.